The real storm hit Harry and Meghan. The Sussexes are on the verge of divorce as danger is near. Hello and a very warm welcome back to Kate Middleton and the Queen News Channel. A royal source has just spoken out claiming that the word is something big is happening and it isn't good for Harry and Meghan. Now, I'm not trying to spread unsubstantiated rumors here, but still, enough people have alluded to Harry's cruel treatment of sex workers. So I think it's fair to say what he did to women in Afghanistan is only a foretaste of what he allegedly did to other women. Now, if this turns out to be true, and it may very well, then King Charles told Meghan and Harry that he would not help them cover this up. I mean, thank goodness for people like King Charles, people who are intelligent and people who have some dignity. So apparently Harry and Meghan have run off to Canada, and that is not thanks to the biblical flooding in their hometown of Montecito, California. The people are going back to their homes, actually, although Meghan was allegedly shouting at her workers on the estate to take care of things while she ran away. But trying to hide out in Canada is not going to help them one bit. The U.S. and Canada, and actually most countries, have extradition rights. So that means if somebody commits a crime in the U.S. and then they try to flee to Canada to hide, well, it's not going to work. The alleged criminal would be found and they would be sent right back to the U.S. and vice versa. The only places that a person who is wanted by the U.S. can successfully hide are places like Russia and China and Chad, and Iran too, and there might be a few more. And I doubt any Russian oligarch is going to help the two of them hide out in his Canadian home. The authorities are going to find the two of them if it's true that both were complicit and this awful act was committed by them. And they're going to face the legal system of the U.S. I don't think Harry has diplomatic immunity either because he is not a head of state. So if anything bad happened, I think the two of them are screwed. And if you don't know what I'm referring to, then I'm going to have to get permission to see if I can say the name of the writer. But it's a rather well-known story that Harry has abused animals and women too. Just think along those lines and then make things a lot worse in your head. It's purported to be that horrible, and now it looks like all the chips are falling into place. Harry is exposing himself to the entire world as a very dirty man. Meghan and her pimp Marcus and that sketchy Doria do have a past together. Now, why Marcus Anderson, Doria Raglan, and Meghan pushed Harry to marry Meghan? Apparently they knew something that we don't. But you're going to know when it happens. It's going to be a tsunami, and then no one is going to be talking about Harry's book. Meghan and Marcus did not film themselves committing violent crimes against women and animals. They got Harry all wasted, they got him started, and then they left the room so they could turn on the surveillance cameras at Soho. I'm sure they saved up at least a few minutes, if not a few hours, of Harry all alone with his victims, enjoying his worst instincts like a sadist. And I'm guessing the plan was to push him to suicide, and when that failed, to get him to put a target right on his back so that somebody else would go after him, and then Meghan can be this grieving widow. So who better to upset than the Taliban? They have global reach, and they don't require payment. Getting Harry locked up in jail or a mental institution is a riskier outcome for them, because see, in that case, Harry would not be under their control. See, it looks to me like Meghan has the perfect get-out excuse now. She can just try to say that she feels Harry and or the media put them at too much risk, and she thinks they can't have a normal childhood if they stay with Harry. Or maybe she'll say she tried her best, but Harry's just too sick in the head to be around the invisible kids because his family messed him up too much. Or she may try to claim both. And that fool Harry talking about killing 25 insurgents, comparing them to chess pieces, saying that he doesn't feel any regret, but should be talking about it because it makes him feel better. Meanwhile, Meghan is staying far away from it. I think she's packing the kids' suitcases. It's a pretty convenient storm for her, is it not? What exactly is going to happen next? See, Meghan's happy controlling Harry for a time, but eventually she's going to want to cut him loose, but she will want to keep access to the money. And Harry's useful work as a complete fool is almost done. It's high time somebody stood up and said enough is enough. It is time for Harry to be held accountable for his actions and his words, both past and present. And if it's true that Harry and Meghan have really run off to Canada, then I'm guessing they are really worried about this situation. And I am certain that eventually Harry is going to regret the way that he has treated his family, both in the past and the present. All his life, his father and his older brother have been there for him. They have cleaned up and they have covered up his bad behavior. Now, sooner or later, the chickens are going to come home to roost in regard to Harry and Meghan's horrible behavior. See, Harry, now we talk about how Meghan is very manipulative, but Harry's manipulative too. Now, Diana saw that in him when he was just a little boy. If we add in drug addiction, and then we get Harry, this horrible monster. There's a lot of venom that's being rooted out here, and I know what I think should happen if the monarchy decides to reboot and modernize. Now, I would love to think that Harry's family didn't do any more or less to cover up his misdeeds than most families would do in order to spare the victims and get good treatment for the perpetrator. And honestly, friends, I don't know what to think about the military's part in this, with their strenuous denials and their insistence that the stories Harry's telling about Afghanistan couldn't possibly be true. And as for Harry's stupid claims about the body count, well, I mean, again, how stupid can he be? But when I heard this new bit from a very credible source last night, I was shocked. Now, I started to accept the possibility because it does fit the known profile of the alleged perpetrators. So when I started to accept that maybe this is true, I just felt very angry. More often than not, victims of sexual and/or domestic abuse are silenced and they're just too scared to speak up. At this point, we're all just waiting for more information. Nobody can say anything other than alleged at this point. And in the meantime, I do hope any alleged victims out there know that they have an audience who are willing to listen and we are willing to believe them. But how could severe violence even be covered up successfully? Now, Prince Andrew, I don't think has any real interest in teenage girls. He was after contacts who could make him money after he, and mostly his wife, got themselves into some trouble. And I don't know whether or not he just went along with Epstein over that Giuffre girl and fell into a honey trap. But that Giuffre girl I don't think is very honest either, and the media campaign over his connections to Epstein ruined any chance of defending himself. He was the Queen's son, and even if he had sex with the girl, well, she was almost 18, and 16 is actually the legal age of consent, and no court could ever prove that he actually knew that she was being trafficked. He was bothered for years about that. Considering that Prince Andrew is the late Queen's son and she couldn't protect him, I mean, how could the former Prince Charles protect Harry from some serious violence towards women? Anybody can start a rumor, and this kind of thing is pretty difficult to disprove. Where could you even begin? More likely, I think they're just regrouping because there are some serious and credible threats to them because of Harry's stupid claims about the Taliban people. Ironically enough, the floods in California have given Meghan and Harry a pretty good excuse for now, at least. Now, I'm interested to see two things. Is Meghan going to stay with the clearly mentally ill father of her invisible children, always looking over her shoulder? That would prove if her love was genuine or not. And are people in the U.S. going to make an exception for Harry about his visa, thanks to his really dumb claims about the drugs that he smoked and consumed, etc.? And you, what do you think about them? Please tell me your opinion below in the comments section, and we can also discuss Meghan and Harry's behavior. Don't forget to subscribe to Kate Middleton and the Queen News channel to get more videos in the future. Now, thank you so much for watching, goodbye, and we'll be back to see you in the next videos.